Shalom and welcome back to the Rashi Nosh. I'm Pastor Matt.
And I'm Kara.
This is a very important Torah portion. First of all, we have Balaam, and the donkey, one of our favorite things to talk about because we love a talking donkey.
Ammi.
But this is Noah Shapira's bar mitzvah portion. And every time I do the shacharit with Jackson, and if you're not used to doing that, listen, if you don't have an opportunity to gather together with a minyan and do shacharit prayers during the weekday, there always is a live video that is put out on Sunday morning, simply called Shacharit for Yom Aleph, the morning prayers for the first day, which is Sunday. Every Sunday, we release it as a live video, and it always begins with a wonderful Matovu song done by a 13-year-old Noah Shapira in his house in Texas. Now have moved or are moving. But at the house in the Fort Worth, Dallas area of Texas, in this room that he had set aside called Talking Donkey Studios. And so every time when we start with the Shacharit prayers, as I'm putting on my talit and tefillin, I'm hearing the Matovu by Noah Shapira, and I have it memorized. And it was done completely extemporaneously. It was just off the top of his head. He didn't have anything planned. I had just made this musical track for him, and he got behind the microphone and just said whatever came to his mind. And it's absolutely beautiful and it's precious. And even though Noah is 18 now, I remember little Noah doing this. So it's fun to talk about Balaam and the donkey, but we're talking about this in a specific way this week for Parasha Balak, as it is called here in our commentary, called Rise and Shine. Now, when I was a kid, there were times when, let's say, maybe we were sleeping longer than our parents wanted us to. They wanted us to get up and really attack the day, and they would sing a little song to us called Rise and Shine and Give God the Glory, especially at summer camp. They would do that. So I have these memories of just the phrase rise and shine. And most of them are very good memories, but some are, you're not quite ready to get out of bed yet. And it's early and,
Not awake yet.
You're not quite awake. But in our commentary here, where it says rise and shine, we read this. Despite Balaam's efforts, he fails to curse the Israelites. More so, each attempt to curse has the opposite effect, resulting in a blessing for the Jewish people. The following verse relays one such example. Lo, the people, the Israelites, that rises like a lion, leaps up like the king of beasts, rests not until it has feasted on prey and drunk the blood of the slain. Numbers 23:24. Now, this idea of a people that rises like a lion. Every week in our Rashi Torah discussion commentary, we have three choices of what to talk about, three sort of subject matters and discussion questions. And I chose this one because the most recent mission in Iran by Israel was called Operation Rising Lion, based on this Torah portion. And what it says here in Rashi is, lo, the people, the Israelites, that rises like a lion. When they awaken from their sleep in the morning, they are as vigorous as a lion, and the king of beasts, in grasping the commandments, the mitzvot, wearing the prayer shawl, the talit, the reading of the declaration of God's unity, the Shema, and putting on phylacteries, or tefillin. Rashi explains that Balaam's comparing the Israelites to an awakening lion is a reference to the zeal with which they perform the commandments each morning. The inference is that a Jew should bound out of bed in the morning with a sense of purpose to live fully as God intended and a vigorous desire to fulfill that purpose. So, here's the difficult question. Would you say you bound out of bed in the morning? Now,
Nope.
I will say for me, and maybe for you too, for me, waking up is a bit of a process. And I think there are, the corollary to this question is, what is your typical morning routine and how does that affect the rest of your day? So I'll just say that we have been trying, and I think, admittedly, I think on my part, this has to do that I recently had a birthday. I recently turned 50, and for some reason that is a big number to us. When we turn 50, we make kind of a big deal about it. And for some reason, I just had the desire, and we talked about this, about maybe coming up with a more intentional morning routine that includes exercise. Now, I will tell you, my birthday was a number of days ago, and I fully intend to put that practice into practice. I fully intend to do that morning routine, but I try to be transparent with you that watch this video. And I can say, now, in my defense, I have in a couple of evenings done some exercising.
Yes.
But what I really want to do is make it part of a regular morning routine. I wake up in the morning and I do these, especially on weekdays. I really want to do this. Now, I have not been so successful yet in doing that, but a
few times it was out of your hands.
That's true. There are certain things came up that I wasn't expecting, and it kind of threw off my morning schedule. But we actually have charted out a morning routine. We've written it down, a schedule of at this time we get up, and at this time we eat breakfast and have our coffee, and at this time we pray, and at this time we exercise, and all these different things that we have. And it's a good system. I just haven't been able to do every single thing on the list yet. Now, I will say, how does it affect the rest of your day? I still, this morning, was yet another morning where I did not get to the exercising part, but I did get to my morning prayers, the Shacharit prayers, where we, hear Noah's, song about the donkey. I feel good about that. And I feel like if I take the time to do the morning prayers, even if I have not exercised my body, which I know I should be doing, but it still doesn't make me feel like, oh man, I kind of blew the day by not exercising. I was able to this morning with a lot of joy to put on my talit and my tefillin and pray, and it was wonderful going along with Jackson on this video that we post every week on YouTube. So even though I didn't get to exercising, maybe after we film, maybe I'll do some exercising. I don't know. I'll let you know how that goes next week. But then, so anyway, so we have put together this idea of a morning routine. And last week we talked about how my strength is a vision and your strength is, okay, how do we go about that vision? What are the steps? Because I had a great idea. You know what? We should have a new morning routine and we should add exercise to that. Great idea. Vision. But I need help pulling it off. So do you, would you say you bound out of bed in the morning, or are you like me? It's more of a process. And how does your morning routine affect the rest of your day?
I tend to not be so much of a morning person. I don't necessarily jump out of bed unless I don't have a 9 to 5. So like if I have an appointment, or I have to, like on Sundays when I have to be out the door at a certain time, or if I have a cleaning job first thing in the morning,
well, and
I'm good at jumping out of bed because I know I have a responsibility.
Sometimes you have to jump out of bed at 4 a.m. to do your cleaning, and
so
you're always good about that.
I can jump out of bed, but if I don't have to, I definitely do. But when I do and I get my day started, it definitely does have a different feel throughout the day. I do feel like, when you've done all the things you're supposed to do in the morning and kind of set your day up in the right way, it does. You feel more motivated. You feel more accomplished. I think there's even all those chemicals in your brain that are going that make you feel like, it's a good thing. So it is something I should do more often. And again, I've made the lists and planned the details. Now we just have to execute.
That's great. That's great. The next question is, according to Jewish law, one should immediately recite an expression of gratitude in the morning. Now, in Judaism, there's a specific prayer that you do called the Modeh Ani, or if you're a woman, the Modah Ani. And I will say that most of the time, I used to be able to say every day, but sometimes there are things that you're out of town or you're in a different environment, and sometimes you get out of your routine, and so you forget sometimes. But most days, before I get out of bed, recite this prayer of the Modeh Ani, which is a thanking of the Lord for returning your soul. I thank you, living and eternal King, for returning my soul in compassion. Great is your faithfulness. that is the sort of the general idea of the Bodhiani. And on the days that I remember to do that, which, like I said, is probably, 9 times out of 10, I remember to do it. But when I do, immediately the old Christian hymn, "Great is thy faithfulness," always comes to my mind. And I kind of, because that's how you finish it. We say, "Great is your faithfulness." And so that I always sort of sing that as I'm walking toward the coffee pot. It's one of those things. So I like this idea of getting up and being thankful. And I will tell you that one of the reasons that we wanted to have this sort of plan is that sometimes we are getting up at different schedules. When you get up at 4 a.m. to go do a cleaning job, you're not waking me up and expecting me to be up at 4. I may be getting up more like at 6 or 7. But and I thank you for allowing me to sleep. But we wanted to be more intentional of having some of our morning routine match up and to be in sync with one another. And I think, rather than sort of grabbing something to eat as we rush out the door to our many appointments, I think it's been a good plan for us to have breakfast together. And I like making you an egg sandwich.
I like eating your egg sandwich.
Thank you. So that I think is good. Do you think that there's a benefit to us trying to sync up these schedules and to spend some time at the beginning of the day in the morning together, rather than, I got to run, I'll see you later?
Yeah. And I think, obviously we're privileged to be able to do that right now. But we haven't most of our marriage, just because
Right.
of your job and with the kids, or just different, my job, whatever. It was never really easy to do it. So whereas now we kind of have the opportunity to be able to do that. And I definitely think, I think it sets us to where we're kind of connected first thing in the morning. It gives us the opportunity to even, pray for our day together as opposed to just separately. And it definitely affects, I feel like, the day as a whole. So I'm grateful that we're able to kind of do that on many mornings.
I agree. And I have to say, we have to admit that this is a privilege that we have because our kids are adults now. If you have young children, a lot of times the schedules of, especially if you have babies in the house where, they're waking up at all hours, and, especially if as parents you're taking shifts on feeding times and whatever, just so that, you could get some sleep. We understand that it's not possible in everybody's situation to do this. We've even known married couples that one worked first shift and the spouse worked third shift. So one's working for a time days and one's working nights, and you just sort of miss each other on several days. So we understand that. But if there is a way for you to have some kind of routine that gets you in a habit, I think it's great. Even if you have a great intention and idea, like adding exercise to your morning routine, and you haven't quite gotten to it, we're going to get to it.
Yep.
And I say you have been doing much better about that than I have. And to be honest, I was inspired to do some morning exercise because of some exercise that you have been doing with a friend and in the morning time. And I was kind of thinking, maybe feeling a bit guilty that I should be doing something as well. So anyway, I'm not saying I'm old, but I am 50 now. And so we need to be taking care of ourselves so I'm going to try to bound out of bed like the king of beasts and attack the day. And I invite you to join with us as we do that. If you don't know the Modeh Ani, simply Google it. Modeh Ani, or the Modah Ani, Modeh Ani Lefanecha, that I thank you, living and eternal King, for restoring my soul to me in compassion. Great is your faithfulness. What a wonderful way to start the day, because essentially what you're saying is, the Jewish belief is the soul goes to be with God as we sleep. And so in the morning, God returns our soul to us when we wake. And so every morning is a resurrection. So wouldn't it be wonderful if you woke up in the power of the resurrection every day? That's what the beginning of the Jewish prayers are all about, is this resurrection. So rise up, bound out of bed in resurrection power, even if you need a little coffee to help you do that. So put together a morning routine, especially if you're married with your spouse. Spend some time together in the morning and start your day off right, especially in prayer together. We want to thank you for joining with us. If you've not done so already, please subscribe to this channel and leave a like and a comment so the algorithm will pick us up, and share this on your social media platforms so that it can go out to many, many people. We thank you so much for paying attention and for going through the Torah with us. And tomorrow morning, may you bound out of bed with an energy to attack the day. Shalom.